Welcome everyone to the information session for the Foreign Language Area Study Fellowships summer program. My name is Wheeler Winstead and I am the Assistant Director for the Center of African Studies. And today we're going to talk about the Foreign Language Area Studies or FLAS Fellowship that's available for the summer of 2022. So I see some of our language professors are here. Welcome to Fessler. Glad to see you're here. I hope all your students apply for a FLAS and get one.
Yes, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. How are you, Dr. Winstead? I haven't seen you for 2 years, almost 2 years
Yes,
now.
2 years. Glad to
Yes,
see the rest of you here.
good to see you, everyone.
All right, so I am going to start by sharing my screen and hopefully you'll be able to see here. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is an information session where we will be talking about the FLASC, Foreign Language Area Studies program, and also giving you some information on the African language programs offered here at Howard University. If you could all please mute your mic, and you can turn off your video. It doesn't really matter, but if you could place your questions in the chat box so that when we get to that time we'll be able to at least address them. Okay. So the basic agenda today, we're going to be talking about, as I said, the Center for African Studies, who is really the one responsible for the FLASC. We're going to be giving you information about the Foreign Language Area Studies program. And we're going to also talk to you about the application process, walking you through how to apply. And then we're going to have Dr. Kamara, who is going to be coming on and talking about the African language programs offered here at Howard. So first, the Center for African Studies. So the Center for African Studies, which I am the assistant director, is a comprehensive Title VI National Resource Center funded by the Department of Education. We are the only HBCU, which is a National Resource Center for Africa, and we are one of 10 National Resource Centers in the United States. What is our goal? Our goal is to support African-related teaching and research across Howard University. By the way, we're not an academic unit, but we are a support to the various departments, schools here at Howard. We provide the Foreign Language and Area Studies fellowships for both the academic year and the summer year in terms of tuition and stipend support. And here, our website is here if you'd like to go there and actually see more information about the Foreign Language Area Studies program and some of the other things that we offer. So our focus this particular information session is on the summer 2022 FLAS. So the summer 2022, the application period is open right now. It will be open until January 31st, 2022. By the way, this information session is being recorded, and those of you who would like to review it later, you can go online and review it. However, most of the information that I'm actually sharing with you is already available online on our website. So as I said, the application date is open now and is open from November 1, 2021 until January 31st, 2022. In the past, it was usually open longer, so it is possible that we may extend it, but right now these are the deadline for the program. So at Howard, we offer seven different languages: Amharic, Arabic, Swahili, Wolof, Yoruba, and Zulu. Amharic, Arabic, Somali, Swahili, Wolof, Yoruba, and Zulu. These are the seven languages that we offer. Now, if you are applying for FLAS, you've got to apply to study one of these seven languages that we offer here. So one of the first things I want to make sure you understand is that the FLAS is a funding source only. You, the student, would choose the institution and the program that would actually be running the language program. What we do at the center and what the FLAS does is provide funding for you to study these seven languages. Now, the FLAS is offered for both an academic year and summer fellowships. However, we're focusing on the summer fellowships. There are academic year fellowships. Um, and right now, we have a special application process going on for the spring 2022. I'm actually not talking about that one because we are basically marketing that or offering that through the recommendation of your language instructor. So what I recommend, if you are interested in studying an African language in the spring of 2022, you've got to already be studying it now, and you need to contact your language instructor and make them aware that you're interested in applying for FLAS, and it would just be for the spring semester 2022. So it's a special process. Normally, this would be a part of the normal academic year, both fall and spring. But because there was some funds left over, we're simply going to offer it just for the spring semester. The academic year 2022-2023 FLAS, as of this point, those applications are not yet offered. We will find out sometime by the end of next school year if we will be able to offer FLAS for that particular period. So right now we are focusing on the spring 2022. That's a special application process, and the summer 2022. And actually this particular, as I said previously, this particular information session, we are focusing on the summer 2022. So the fellowships that are available for both the graduate and undergraduate students. And we have available $5,000 in tuition and $2,500 in living expenses. What are the eligibility requirements? So first, you need to have clear promise of completing your academic program, or at least being in an academic program. You have to plan to use your training somewhere in your career. You got to have some sort of evidence that you are moving forward, as evidenced by the GPA, and you've got to show some sort of financial need. And all of this is really captured in the application process. And the final thing is that because this is the Department of Education, they do ask us to do some ongoing surveying of those students who participate in the FLAS. So specifically for the summer, you must choose your own program of study. So Howard has several summer programs that we offered. There is the newly launched Summer Institute that will happen in the summer. There is the HUSA program, or the Howard University Swahili Study Abroad program. There is the Swahili GPA program. There is the Yoruba GPA program. However, there are other programs in other universities that, in fact, you can apply to study there, and you can apply the FLAS, your FLAS, to those programs as long as they are approved. So again, FLAS funds are used to pay the program costs. They may be used for both domestic programs and overseas programs, or a combination of both. However, all overseas programs and domestic programs must be approved by the Department of Education. You've got to receive credit and a grade for the language programs. And if you would keep your hand up, Ishak, and I will get to that at the end of my presentation. And thank you for your question, but if you could please hold it. So another important point is that these are intensive language programs. So when I mean intensive, we mean at least 6 weeks in duration and have to offer at least 120 contact hours of instructions for the students at the advanced level, and at least 6 weeks in duration and 140 hours of contact of instruction for students at the beginning and intermediate level. So it is important to note that that it is available for beginning, intermediate, and advanced students. However, if you are at the beginning level, you've got to have 140 contact hours. All of the Howard programs meet this need. So you don't have to worry if you're interested in a Howard program, if in fact they meet these requirements.
The slides are not changing for us.
So, okay, so here's something you need to be aware of, and actually this should be 2022. I'm sorry that this hasn't been changed. So,
Dr. Wheeler,
yes.
I think someone had commented that we're not seeing your slides change. So we're
Oh,
still on
you're
the
not?
FLAS deadlines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me let me hold on a second. Let me try to do this a different way then. You're not seeing my slides change, then I think I've got to actually try it a different way. Hold on. I'm sorry. Thank you for making me aware of that. Let me just make a quick adjustment here. I think, 1 second. I'm going to try to share it a different way then. Let's try this. Sorry. Now can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. Now was that you were going to tell me that you couldn't see my slides change?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get to you quicker. All right, let's see if you can see this change. Can you see it change now?
Wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Apologize. Okay, so if you didn't see that information, we're a comprehensive Title VI program, support African-related teaching and research. We provide the FLAS for both the academic and summer. Summer deadline is the 31st. They are available now, November 1st through January 31st. Let's see. Summer is not changing. Oh, okay. So these are the 7 languages that are offered: Amharic, Arabic, Swahili, Somali, Wolof, Yoruba, and Zulu. FLASC is a funding source only, and that means the student must choose the program. We do offer academic and summer fellowships. However, the summer 22 fellowship that we are offering is a special application process. You've got to actually already be studying the language now. You've got to contact your professor and give them, make them aware that you're interested in applying. And it will just be for the spring semester. And if you already have funding for that, then obviously you will not be able to receive FLAS funding in addition to your funding. But if your total tuition is not paid for and you need financial support, this can be a resource. Academic year 2022-2023 has not yet been made. We're not sure if we will have funds for that particular year. And the FLASC is for graduates and undergraduates. So the summer fellowship, as I said, is both for graduates and undergraduate students. It's $5,000 for tuition and $2,500 for living expenses. So when I say for graduate and undergraduate, this is not just available for Howard University students. However, our program, we do give first preference to Howard University students. What's the eligibility? Clear promise of completing their academic program. Now, let's say you are, let's say you are graduating in this summer. And you would like to apply for FLAS. You will not be eligible if you're not a student. So you have to have at least one more year or one more semester in order to be eligible for a summer FLAS. We do look at your academic record. We haven't set a particular GPA that we're looking for, but we do give preference to students that are that have good or strong academic records. The primary thing is we need to, the preference will be given to students who plan to utilize their training in their career. And again, these are not preferences that we have established as Howard University. These are preferences established by the Department of Education, and we are required to implement these requirements. And again, they do require that we do from time to time survey the FLAS recipients, and so you will be hearing from us for potentially over the 8 years, even from the time you get to FLAS. And so one thing we do ask is for an email address other than your Howard email address. So again, let's get back to focusing on the summer. The student chooses their own program. At Howard, we have a Summer Institute. We have the HUSA, or the Swahili Study Abroad Program. We have the Swahili GPA. We have the Yoruba GPA, but you can use the money for any approved program. FLAS funds can be used to pay for any approved program. They can be used for both domestic and overseas, and all overseas and domestic must be approved by the Department of Education. You got to receive grades and credit for the language course. The summer programs are intensive summer programs. In other words, these are 6 weeks programs, at minimum 6 week programs, and you will be having, if you're in advanced level, at least 120 contact hours of instruction. And if you're in the beginning and intermediate level, at least 140 contact hours of instruction. So I think this is where we were before I realized you couldn't see my slides. So for the last 2 years, there have been restrictions on the travel abroad. The travel abroad has been lifted somewhat. However, there still is some uncertainty about traveling in Africa. So your plans should remain flexible. And you will need, your travel abroad will be subject to the guidance of the U.S. Department of the U.S. State Department. For example, let's say you wanted to travel to a country. you're approved a FLAS. However, the State Department says that travel is not advised to this country, then you could not use the FLAS funds to travel to that country. These FLAS funds are funds from U.S. Department of Education, and therefore they require that we follow the regulations as set by the State Department. The contact hours and the week options, you can attend one program or you can attend more than one program. And there are cases where you can have private tutoring. However, this must be approved. So first thing is you've got to complete an online application. And after we get finished the slideshow, I'll actually, the slide presentation, I'll go and show you what these sites look like. But simply you can go to the Howard University Center for African Studies FLAS site, click apply, and that's where you would begin the application process. What are some of the requirements in the application? You've got to have a statement of purpose. So again, this is what we want to know. How will the FLAS award contribute to your work or concentration or your research or your professional study or your career? So let's say you really just simply like to learn an African language, and that's the only reason you're studying a FLAS, that you want a FLAS. That's a good reason. However, you will not be ranked very highly. You've got to coordinate, or you've got to associate your study of an African language with showing how somehow that it will contribute to your work and your concentration or your research or your future professional study or career aspirations. Okay, so that's really important. Just saying my family comes from Nigeria, they are Yoruba speaking. We don't speak it anymore. I like to capture my family's heritage. Great idea. We applaud that. You will not score very high on that. You've got to show how that studying an African language will contribute to your concentration, your research, your professional study, your career aspirations, somehow that is contributing to something beyond personal acquisition and personal desire. You will have to have 2 references, and we always recommend that one of your references be one of your language instructors. So, I mean, if you're going to be studying an African language, you're going to need to have one of your African language instructors to be one of your reference providers. Now, we don't state that it has to be. However, you need to understand that in the review process, that the language instructors are our first set of reviewers that give us an indication if this is an application that is strong and has the potential to use the language that's going to be studied. You need to provide a current transcript. It doesn't have to be an official transcript. Now, you need to provide registration. Okay, and this first one is actually only for the this is only applies for the academic program. So you will not need to show registration for both an African language and an African area studies course. That's just for academic year. However, you will have to provide registration for the African language program that you are going to study. If you say you're going to study a program, say Arabic in Morocco, and you're going to be at program ABCD, you're going to need to provide information about, one, have you tried to register, where, provide a website, how much is it going to cost, because we've got to contact them to, one, send money to pay for your program, and one, to ensure that you are in fact registered for that program. You need to provide a resume and proof of citizenship. So this is available for U.S. citizens, also for permanent residents. Non-U.S. citizens, non-permanent residents are not qualified for a FLAS. Unfortunately, it's only for U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and you will have to provide copies of those. FLAS forfeiture. If for whatever reason you have been approved to receive a FLAS, we have paid your tuition fee or have paid your stipend, and you have to resign or withdraw from the program. If these are for reasons that we do not feel legitimate and acceptable, then you will need to repay the what was given to you, or repay a pro rata share of what you have received. So this is it shows you what it looks like when you go online to register. So before you can actually process your application, you've got to register first. So you go to the FLAS, you register, and then once you register, then you can log in. When you log in, you can choose whether you are whether you're applying for the academic program or the summer program, and then you go ahead and complete your registration. So you will have to choose which program you are registering for. And then if you are deemed eligible, so there is a first page that you give the applicant information. And the second question is asked is that I will be participating in a program study abroad or a program that is US based. If you say no, then you will be considered ineligible. Now that might seem elementary or might seem obvious, but there are people who all the time they come and they register or they try to apply, and for some reason they click no, I'm not going to be participating or attending a US or a foreign program. Then the question is, why are you applying for a FLAS? You will be considered ineligible. You've got to click yes on that button, or you will be considered ineligible and you will not be able to move further. And that's basically what that says. Now, if somehow you make a mistake on it and you were considered ineligible, but you are eligible, all you got to do is send me an email. We can correct that. But if you do not complete the first few questions correctly, you will not be able to move forward and submit your application. You will be deemed ineligible. And there's really, in this case, only one question you can answer wrong is, I am not attending a US based or a foreign, or I believe it says study abroad program. Therefore, if you don't click yes on that, you will not be considered eligible. So when you submit your applications, they will be saved as a draft until all the mandatory fields are complete. You can always come back and complete and edit your application until the final day of the application process is closed. If you want more information, you simply log in, and you can there's actually much more information on the website that will give you detailed information to detailed questions about the FLAS program. So what I want to do now is let me take some questions, and I'll start with what was put in the chat room, the chat box. So if you could please put your questions in the chat box, and at Dr. Mwaka, you can get ready to share about the next the Howard University summer language programs.
I'm ready whenever.
Okay, so first question, do we have Somali programs at Howard for the summer? Well, I'll actually ask Dr. Mwaka to answer that.
That's correct. Thank you so much, Dr. Wheeler. I have actually already answered the question. Yes, we do have Somali, and we will offer. Obviously, all of this will depend on enrollment. So the more we are, the more likely that the languages will actually take place. So that is something that we plan to offer, and so be on the lookout.
Okay, let's see. Another question. Do we need to be enrolled in a degree program to apply for a summer FLAS? Can we still apply if we've recently graduated? Unfortunately, no. You have to be enrolled in a program, in a university, and to apply for a FLAS. Another question also, we received the FLAS academic award as an undergraduate. Are we eligible to apply for a summer? Absolutely. So you can receive an academic year FLAS, and you can also apply for and receive a summer FLAS. And this is not unusual. As a matter of fact, we understand that those people who are individuals who are serious about studying an African language might in fact want to simply continue to study in the summer. So we expect that that would happen. Can we apply for the spring semester as a freshman? I'm intermediate in Yoruba, but I have not taken any classes yet. Dr. Mwaka, you can answer that one.
That's a very interesting point. How do you know you're intermediate? If you've not taken classes, have you been tested? Have you tested out? That would be a good question to really, for you to tell us. I'm talking about the one who says he or she is intermediate. So you need to be placed, you need to take a placement test. I have seen that you say you are from Nigeria, or so you have knowledge of the language. It's always good to contact Dr. Omolola, who will do a placement test. Then we'll know where you are. And at that point, if you are eligible as is, then you'll apply for a FLAS fellowship, and we'll consider you.
Okay, so again, as I mentioned, the spring is a special application process, and you need to contact the Yoruba professor, Dr. Abayo Omolola, and then he would actually recommend you further. So next question, is the FLAS academic year program available in the spring and fall semester? It is available in normally we wouldn't even be having the spring semester FLAS available, because when you apply initially for the academic year, you apply for both the fall and the spring. We happen to have some funds left over. That's why we're making it available for the spring, for this particular spring coming up. But normally when you apply for the academic year, it's for the spring and the fall and the spring. For those individuals who were approved for the academic year, they will not have to apply for the spring. Then the other part of that, if so, do we apply each semester for the whole? No, you don't. If you were approved for the academic year, you were approved for the fall and spring. However, each academic year, you've got to demonstrate that you are in fact registered for an African language and an African area studies courses. So we have had students approved for the academic year in the fall. They register for African language and an African area studies course. However, they get to the spring and they either fail to register for an African language or an African area studies course, and in that case, they are no longer eligible for a FLAS. So you don't have to reapply. However, you've got to demonstrate that you are registered for both an African language and an area studies course. Okay, I don't know if that answered your question, Nuha. Okay.
Yeah, that answered it. Thank you.
Okay, another question. If we are graduating this fall, I think that was the question we already answered. So if you are graduating this fall, you will not qualify for a summer academic FLAS. However, let me just say we are looking at the potential that you could take an Arabic or African language for a non-credit. We haven't worked that out, but we know there are people who are not even in school, who have already graduated, and they want to take an African language. You will not be able to qualify for a FLASC, but there is the potential that you still may be able to take a class. And again, that has not been worked out. I don't know if Dr. Mwaka, there's any more you want to say to that about that.
No, I think you provided the best response to the question. Once you graduate, then you don't qualify for FLAS. But of course, nothing bars you from learning the language of your interest, only that you may not get the funding FLAS.
Okay, next question. For the academic year program for the African Area Studies, are there specific courses that are approved? Okay, so there are hundreds of courses that Howard offers that are considered African-related courses. They are not simply under African Studies. There are African-related courses just about in every area, in history, in film, in political science. So these are African related courses. So where could you find a quick list of those courses? If you go to our website, if you click on academic programs, if you scroll down, you will see a listing of some of the African related courses. It does not mean that it has to be in the Department of African Studies. For example, I know hieroglyphics, African dance. There are lots of other, a lot of the Afro-American studies courses are also considered African related. So basically, the idea it has to have, I think it's 30, I can't remember the percent content. I think it's either 30 or 45% African content before it's considered African related. Are you able to apply for spring 22 semester if you're taking an African language? That we talked about that? Yes. Yeah, you can apply. As a matter of fact, it's for you. Contact your professor and contact that person now, because it closes on November the 30th, and you have to be referred to or recommended by the African language instructor. That is one of the differences for spring 22. You have to be recommended by the African language instructor. However, you can go to the website and you can apply even without being recommended, but understand that before you would even be considered, that the African language instructor would be contacted and would have to approve you moving forward. If we are able to speak the African language very well, do we have to read? Do we have to have reading and writing skills, but do not have reading and writing skills in the language? Would that be considered intermediate or advanced? Dr. Kamara.
Let me just say, we use very specific parameters to rate your language proficiency. So once we look at all of those 4 skills, we'll be able to place you somewhere. It really is not just, you may think you're good or you may think you're not good, but we'll use those parameters by Act 4 to rate you and to tell you where you stand in terms of your language proficiency. So don't worry, just go ahead and send me an email. I'll find the right person to test you, and we'll give you the results.
Okay, again, I think we answered this. If you're graduating spring 22, are you eligible for summer? No, unfortunately, you're not eligible for summer. Would the spring 22 scholarship be used for independent studies? Under some circumstances, again, any independent study courses that are approved are approved by the Department of Education. You've got to submit the independent study curriculum and other things that must be submitted. So yes, it could be in independent study. However, there is a process that is required to be able to study an African language via independent studies, and that has to be approved by the Department of Education. So if that is where you are, that is possible. You've got to be able to have that approved. Obviously, you've got to have an instructor who is willing to be the independent studies instructor. And they've got to put together a curriculum, and that curriculum has to have certain things in it. What type of programs we have to be able to?
Dr. Willa, maybe
Yes.
it would be good for us to know which language this person is asking about, because unless a course is available, we are not going to offer it. So we really have to be very clear right from the word go that independent studies are not just there. We have to be able to have them listed.
Well, this was asked by Tefessa Work.
Okay, yeah, that's important because that one we can talk about it offline with her.
Okay. Did you want to add any more, Tefessa Work?
No, I do have a fourth level student that is interested in independent studies and would like to apply for FLAS. So, yes.
Yeah, that is possible.
Is it our student?
Yeah, it's our student that is in level 4 currently and would like to take independent studies. And they were asking about FLAS. So I actually told them to come and ask the question themselves. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I see another question about Somali. We are using, in some of these cases, please remember we are using faculty who may be not full-time. So having extra load has implications for the university, not just the department. So we will be very careful on that. I'm responding to Nawal, who is asking about independent study in Somali.
There was another question. What type of programs? What type of what type of programs would have to be a part of? So all of the programs would have to be approved by the Department of Education. And basically they'd have to have a credit, and you've got to be able to get a grade. Were there any other questions before Dr. Mwaka gives specifics on the Howard Summer African Language Programs? Okay, I don't know if you want me to simply use the rest of the slides, Dr. Mwaka?
Please go ahead. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Willa Winston. Everybody, for your attendance. We're very grateful. We just want you to know that our programs are very robust. We try to offer normal programming during the academic year, but also during the summer. And we encourage our students to be number one. You are the reason why these courses or study abroad programs are mounted, so that you can learn about other cultures and really reinforce your ability to be able to do well, not just in terms of grade, but to understand the culture more deeply. We do have several languages that do take students abroad. It has been unfortunate around this time that COVID interrupted what we had begun on a very strong note. So I'm going to talk about these things in a way that will allow you to know that, number one, we have study abroad programs too, East Africa, we have a program to Kenya. This one is where Swahili is spoken, and Tanzania. This coming year, we'll do it in Kenya, sorry. What we want you to do is you can join this program at any level. In other words, you can be an intermediate, 0 level, or an advanced student. It really doesn't matter. This program is sponsored by FLAS, one way or the other. So you can apply to the program and also get fellowship or funding from the FLAS, which Dr. Wheeler Winston has just spoken about. It is 6 weeks, and we go and collaborate with the Pwani University, Mombasa, which is at the coast of Kenya. And we are able to visit other areas, communities, work with the people locally, so that everything that we do makes sense to you by connecting to the local people. Willa, if you could move, are you able to move the slides?
Yes.
Please, yeah. So it does all of that, enhances your language. It helps you to really understand what is going on, and of course, makes your language much better. Go ahead. I've already said it's 6 weeks, and the cost, we estimate this to be 5,900. Now, this involves airfare. It also involves room and board and any activities on the continent. Now, if you can apply for FLAS, then you will also be able to get tuition so that you can get credits. The courses you take will allow you to get up to 6 credits of Howard University when you're on this program. If you get those credits and you have paid tuition, then they'll show up on your transcript. If you do not, then what it means is that we can waive you, we can give you credit, but not a letter grade. So please mark that very carefully. You will get credit. We'll acknowledge that you have a proficiency at a certain level, but we will not give you credit unless you pay for the tuition that FLAS will give you. If you get a FLAS fellowship, then that means they're actually giving you tuition. Tuition is number one. So that is important for us and for you to know. Please go to the next one. If you have any question about that program, there is information obviously on the website, and but you can still contact me, email me at my email you see there, or you can contact Dr. Esther Lisanza, and her email is esther.lisanza@howard.edu. Again, we are more than happy to talk to you about this, provide more information, ask about anything, any worries you have, but we are very happy that we will be mounting this coming year. Okay, next. Now, the next one is a fully funded program by the federal government through its Department of Education. This is a Fulbright program, which is advanced and also targets the Swahili students. These are students who have up to the intermediate level of Swahili and want to proceed on to really advance their skills. We encourage you to apply to this. And what you can do, therefore, is to look at the flyer again. It's available on our website. Please go on. And just as we move the slides, please do remember this is national. So it's just not Howard University students. It is for every student who is qualified. They are American. The good thing about this is that you do not have to be a current student. You may have graduated in the fall or in the spring, but if you're one of the best, we'll still consider your application. Will I move on, please?
Okay.
Not yet. Yeah, so it is 8 weeks. So this coming year, we travel on the 12th of June, and students come back to the United States on the 5th of August. So the entire summer, you will be there. And again, as you see, we spend about 5 hours in the morning, and in the afternoon, you engage with the community and do a lot of excursions that take you to historical as well as cultural sites. Please go on the next slide. The qualifications, you have to be a US citizen or permanent resident of the US. And you have for at least 3 or 4 semesters of Swahili. Or we can do a placement test also to tell you, yeah, you qualify. So if you are in one of our classes, we will definitely interview you to see where you are. And even if you only have taken one semester and you seem to have really gone up, we're looking at the proficiency. We'll be able to allow you to participate in the program. Go ahead. What do we cover? We cover travel from where we are in the US to Tanzania and back. And this is actually referring to Tanzania. This year, will be in Kenya at the course. And then, of course, the overseas tuition. So you get teachers at the local teachers who will be teaching you, working with the director of the program. We cover your accommodation as well as food. And obviously, all educational materials are covered. Go on, please. What we do not cover, however, is that you will need to have immunization. You will need to be able to have some kind of health insurance so that you are able to you're able to have a safe and healthy kind of life. Your passport, we cannot buy for you, but the passport is about $130. So prepare for that. The visa fee is $50. So you're talking about $180. And then, of course, immunization that you should have had from your regular or physician. Those ones, you should be able to have them from your doctor. And then if you happen to travel, say, oh, you're moving from one place to another, we're not going to cover that. Our obligation is to cover our tuition, to be able to do everything that you're able to do. And the only thing we ask of you is that you pay an administrative fee of $1,000. That is all you'll be asked from the university. And you can request for funding from your center if you have one. They may be able to help you, but we cannot double dip. So that is something that you just want to remember. If there are funds, even the college, for example, course, if we have the Lucy Morton or your globalization fee, it can cover this particular amount of money. Please take advantage of your globalization fee if you are in course. Do not let your money just be there. If you haven't traveled, make sure you travel. You can get up to $1,000. Please go ahead. And again, I am the contact person for this program. If you have any questions, take note of my email, take note of my phone. The first one actually is the one that is working for me. So please go ahead and we can talk more. More information is on our website, Center for African Studies. But I would really encourage you to begin the process. The application is already up and running. All we want from you now is your application so we can begin to process your applications. Go on, Wheeler. Now, similar to the Swahili Advanced GPA program, we have another one in Yoruba. So I had a maybe not a gentleman, but a student who was asking about Yoruba. We would be very happy to see you on this program, which goes to Nigeria every summer. So please look out for this. The beauty about this is even if you want to do research, it's a very good program because it looks for those people who are at the highest level of the academic and their proficiency, and you get to deal and to work with local people who know whatever you are interested in. And it is also a national competition in terms of you compete with other students across the nation. Go ahead. Again, it's for 8 weeks, and the dates are just about the same as the Swahili ones. They will leave on the 12th, and they will come back on the 5th of August. This is going to be directed by Omolola, Bayo Omolola, who teaches Yoruba in the Department of Art, Languages, and Cultures. Go ahead. What are the eligibilities? You have eligibility. You have to be able to submit your application. And this application is also available online. You have to have recommenders, maybe your teachers or somebody who knows your ethic in terms of your work ethic. They know your language proficiency, and they know how you can be able to cope with foreign cultures. So we want you to know that you're going to encounter a new culture. And unless you're prepared, you may find yourself really not being productive. So we want to prepare you. Usually we have preparation right from February. Pre-orientation, in other words, pre-departure orientation allows you to know, to get to know the people you're going to be working with and to know how the program is going to run. So be looking out for this information. It's also on our website at the Center for African Studies. Go ahead, Willa. The costs, again, we cover everything, just as we said for Swahili. You will not have to pay anything except that $1,000, which is administrative. And it also allows us to cover some of the things that we must cover for you. Now, the only thing we ask of you is, again, to take advantage of the globalization fee, which you have paid if you're in College of Arts and Sciences. So don't let that money slip there or go unused. Travel on that money. It is money that will be available. And the application for that usually happens very early in the year. So look out for the deadline. If you pass the deadline, you're in trouble. So no late applications will be accepted. We want you also to contact Dr. Bayo Molola for this particular program, and we'll be able to answer any question that we haven't answered during this session. The next thing before we go to the questions, we will also have a summer institute at Howard. This one will be courses in language that will be taught at Howard. We cover almost all of the languages we teach. We teach 7 languages. We teach Arabic, Amharic, Wolof, Swahili, Zulu, Somali, and of course, Yoruba. We invite you and we ask you to ask your friends to be able to join us. We are more than happy to serve you, to give you the opportunity to know the African continent. And if you ever have any question or if you ever have any doubts, we are here to serve you. So please contact us and we'll be here for you. I think now we will invite a few questions if you have any, based on what I have just presented to you, and we'll be able to respond to you.
Thank you, Dr. Mwaka. Anyone have any questions, any comments they'd like to make at this point? Anyone have any questions, any comments, either about what the programs themselves, about the FLAS funding, the information that we have shared, most of it is available online. And you can see, you'll be able to see the copy of this recording also. Let's see, questions. Are the languages available on the graduate level for like a major or a minor?
Okay, if I understood your question, Noel, you're asking whether we have a major or a minor for these languages. And of course, for you're talking about graduate level. Not at the graduate level, but we have a minor in Arabic and in Swahili. Now, for those of you who are undergraduates, we are working on major in African languages, which means you can take, if you're in Arabic, you can take Arabic and Somali. You can have a combination of that, and the number of hours that somebody will need are 36 hours to get that major. Some of the courses will be language specific, others will be cultural languages, and cultural courses. And one of the things we really encourage will be study abroad. So our major is going to really encourage you to do what we're calling experiential learning. Now, this is in the works. It may be available beginning fall. Now, the other thing, if you're a graduate student, you still will take these courses, and all you need is a waiver from me to allow you to register for those classes, even though I'm saying they are undergraduate courses.
Okay, any other questions or comments from our participants? Just for clarification, if we want to do an independent study, spring 2022, what steps should we take to get approved and apply? Well, the first step, if you're going to even apply for a FLAS 2022, you've got to contact your language instructor and make that person aware. Second, if they share that information, then we will let them know what has to be submitted. They're basically, what they will have to submit is a curriculum designed especially for the language, for the independent study. They'll have to explain why independent study is necessary. They submit their CV and they explain why you as a student would need to study an independent study. That information is submitted to us. We submit it to the Department of Education. Once they get back to us, say that it's approved, that's the process. So just so you understand that it has to be approved by the Department of Education. It's not difficult, but it is something that has to get started right away. So the first step is you communicate with your language instructor. You would like to apply for a FLAS, summer 22, independent study. That is known, you make that information known, and then we start the process in getting that information in. Anything you want to add to that, Dr. Mwaka?
Yeah, just to be clear also, the course has to be mounted. If you go to that dynamic schedule, do you see that course under that specific language? If you're not seeing it, then there is another step also. A course has to be on schedule for it to be even, for you to say you'll take an independent study. So just remember that. And I already mentioned that we offer these courses because we want to be able to offer them to those students who are graduating in very specific cases. There are not many courses, or rather not many instructors are willing to teach independent studies. So just so you know, it may not be automatic that yes, it will be there. Okay, that is something that you have to remember. We just want you to be aware of this.
Okay, any other questions, any other comment regarding either FLAS, the summer programs?
Brian Smith, are you a recipient of FLAS now?
I am not. I do plan on applying this year.
Yeah, I know you. Are you still abroad or you are now local?
And I'm still abroad.
Okay, good. Please travel, take advantage of this and continue to a point where you can reach the highest level of the language.
Will do.
Yeah, and I just want to say, it seems to me all of you who are attending this session are really invested in the African languages, and we really thank you. And so we encourage you to continue your interest and learn these languages to a level where you can actually be the instructor like me, okay? So you should be, next time when we step aside, you should be the ones, encouraging other students, other Americans to learn the languages that we offer for you. And we promise you that we'll offer more languages, and we hope that it will at least help you to connect with the continent of Africa for whatever reason that you want to be able to learn an African language.
Thank you, Dr. Mwaka. And again, I want to emphasize you, those of you who are serious about African languages, you are our ambassadors. You are the best advertisement we have. I would just encourage you, as Dr. Mwaka has mentioned, to continue on, to continue to be serious about the language. There are tremendous opportunities out there, but also to encourage your friends and those of your colleagues that might have a sort of tangential information interest to really move forward and take the first step by studying an African language, and then they'll start to see the value in particularly as they seek to encounter and engage in Africa. So if there are no other comments.
I just wanted to acknowledge the presence of Tafis Work, Gabrielle, who teaches Amharic. If she can show up and say hello in Amharic,
Yes.
that would be wonderful. Mm-hmm.
Hello,
And,
everyone.
and Instructor Professor Work, did you anything you want to share or add to this information?
Just to use the opportunity to, we have funding and students are not applying, and some of them are aware of it and they miss the deadlines and things like that. So just make sure that you submit your applications and use the resources that we have at Howard.
Right.
And Willa, you said that all applications are open and live.
Yes.
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 So
All the
please don't wait
applications
for
are
a long
open.
time. In fact, when you want somebody to recommend you, you begin early. Don't tell them a week before we're going into a festive season. It's very easy for somebody to forget to do what you may have requested them. So if you want any references, because they're the ones we look at very carefully, because these people know how hard you work, they know your commitment to the language, they know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, and we rely on that to be able to make a very objective assessment of your application.
Yes. Okay, well, if there are no more comments from either Dr. Mwaka or Professor Gabriel, we will go ahead and end this session. And thank you for coming. Thank you for your interest. Again, the applications are open. The spring application will be open until the end of November, and the summer application will be open until January 31st, 2022. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.